Did you know that the Pope once tried to ban racing? Or how an Indy driver became the biggest drug dealer in America?
More than $100 million worth of marijuana into South Florida.
Hi, I'm James Pumphrey from Donut Media.
And I'm Nolan Sykes, also from Donut Media. And we're the hosts of the Past Gas podcast, where we dive deep into the automotive world's most insane stories.
Like when Ford tried to buy Ferrari, or when Evel Knievel brawled with the Hells Angels.
Evel Knievel just jumped off his bike and punched him.
From the greatest rivalries to simply how a car came to be, we'll cover it all in Past Gas. So make sure to tune in every Monday for free wherever you get your podcasts.
Past Gas Podcast.
It's about cars.
It's not about farts.
I promise.
You are listening to Any Given Sunday, a part of the Dead End Podcast Network. Please subscribe to our podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google, and all other podcasting services. Please make sure you check out Dead End Hip Hop, Dead End Sports, Dead End Gaming, Is the Mic Still On, Chris Platt's Strictly Hip Hop and Hoops Talk, and a host of other shows on our podcast network. Thank you for listening and enjoy the show. You are listening to Any Given Sunday for Sunday, March 15th, 2020. I am your host, Manny Brown. What's up, everybody? I usually say hopefully you guys had a happy, safe, blessed week. It takes an extra meaning this week with everything going on in the world. So I really, really hope that you guys are having a happy, safe, blessed week. Glad to be back with another episode of the podcast. My guest today, good friend of mine, first time on the show. Really excited about this. Wish it was under better circumstances, obviously. Wish we had a full slate of NBA, NFL, MLB topics to talk about. But unfortunately, the way the world is set up right now, we won't have that to talk about, at least in this episode. But my man Devin, from According to Sources, owner and founder of Seneca Athletics, joining us on the podcast for the first time. Dev, what's good, man? Welcome to Any Given Sunday.
Good, man. I'm super pleasure to be here. I've been waiting to be on here for a long time. We've been pushing this back for a while, but finally we got it popping.
Hey, man, I mean, you know, it's the price of being adults, man. You know, you're a father, you're a business owner, and you know, you're working 9 to 5. Same for me. So, you know, adulting sometimes gets in the way, but you know, here we are.
Here we are, finally.
Yeah, man. This is going to be a different bit of a show. First of all, we're not going to run that long, obviously. We usually try to run about an hour to hour and a half, but we're not going to run that long. Obviously, we don't have a lot of things to talk about. We do have some sports news to talk about, but, you know, new CBA just announced today, so we'll get into that a little bit. But, you know, we're not going to you're not going to do a traditional show where we're running for an hour and kind of a myriad of questions and an open flowing conversation. But I feel like we're going to have a good show, man. I feel like, you know, obviously the number one thing on everybody's mind is the coronavirus and what's going on and the effect on the world, not just the sports world, but just the world in general. But before we get into that, man, as always, I like to give my first time guest a few minutes to kind of introduce themselves, give a little bit of insight on their background, who they are, where they started, that sort of thing. So yeah, man, take these few minutes to kind of introduce yourself to the audience.
Got you, man. So I am Devin. I always try to say that I'm the modest version of According to Sources, but I'm not. I'm the
modest. Yeah, I don't know about that one.
I try to say that when I introduce our brand to somebody that we're trying to get in business with, and then they listen to our show, they're like, "Wait, is this the same guy that I talked to in person to get into business?"
Right.
But no, I'm the ratchet version. I am completely outlandish and wild on Twitter. Twitter is my haven to go absolutely batshit crazy. But 1/4 of According to Sources God crew. The most prideful thing I guess I can say about myself is, you know, the business that I own, which is Seneca Athletics. It's a fitness and training brand dedicated to helping people locate and enhance the greatness that's already within them. Work really, really hard, man, to get that off the ground and keep it going right now. And especially right now, it's definitely something I personally think that everybody could use, whether they want to, you know, personal train, or whether they want to, you know, just, like I said, locate and enhance the greatness that's already with them. Because right now it's a really difficult time for a lot of people, and you can lose, you can lose focus on what's already great within you, and we can get really down. And then, other than that, man, yeah, like you said, I'm a dad. 9-to-5er, work super hard to try to be the best version of me and be greater every day. But I am ratchet. I can't hide that.
He light skinned and he ratchet, so that's two right there. Yeah,
facts.
Yeah, light skinned El DeBarge over here. If you follow him on Twitter, right here, you know what I mean. But
Mr. High Yellow, that's it right there.
Yeah, Mr. High Yellow. But hey, man, I don't want you. I know we're doing an abbreviated show, but I don't want to sell your accomplishments short. So first thing, talk to the listeners. Users. There goes my IT. I've been working all damn week, so trust me if I slip in users instead of listeners. Bear with me. Tell the listeners about According to Sources, man. They may not have never checked it out before. Just basically kind of give them just preview that and where they can listen to it and find it, etc.
Yeah, man. According to Sources is basically a sports. We try to look at it as like a sports network. We started off as a podcast. It was started by my best friend, Andre Williams. What we really try to focus on is it's just a group of Black men that know so many, facets of sports, whether it be basketball, baseball, football, what have you. And we try to bring a lighter side of sports reporting to the sports world and the podcasting world. So what we really try to do is most of our podcasts it starts off modest and then it just goes off to be a so it's a great show. And then we always try to look at things with, the cool version of everything. And then, nice. But like I said, I always try to look at things with According to Sources, man. I try to give all the glory to Dre. He is phenomenal, man. He started this, he worked it from the ground up, and then he really put his foot in the door, going out to try to talk to people, try to interview people. I mean, our first interview on According to Sources was with Craig Hodges. Like, wow. Craig Hodges was blackballed from the NBA. So that was a big thing for us.
That's dope. That's a really good thing. And take a few minutes to talk about Seneca Athletics. I mean, that's the thing that I'm really most interested about. Obviously, I'm a fan of the show. I'm a fan of you guys' work. But Seneca Athletics is something that sounds really interesting. How did you get that venture off the ground?
So Seneca Athletics is like I said, it's a fitness and training brand dedicated to helping people locate and enhance their greatness through personal training, group training, athletic development, and also emotional and spiritual development. So the background to it, it's named Seneca Athletics. It's named after my brother, Seneca Woods, who was he hooped in Chicago. He was on the same AAU team as Ronnie Fields and Kevin Garnett and a few other guys. And I guess you could say Chicago, after like the middle of high school, Chicago got him. So, I always try to, like, some of my family is from New York, but most of my family is from Chicago. So I always try to communicate it to people. It's like that aren't from either place. It's like Chicago and New York can take you to great places, or it could capture you and take you to a bad place. It's just all about your interpretation of it. So, like my brother was doing shit that most people rap about and they don't really do. I always joke around and say my brother was like the real Chicago version of Pusha T. And then, the streets got him, and then he got older. He changed his life around. And when he changed his life around, his real big focus was on working with kids that work in communities where they don't have the most resources to be able to change their life around. Parents are working 2 jobs, or they're in a single family home, and they're either at home watching their brothers or sisters because their mom is at work. So my brother was living in Minneapolis, and he started a movement to try to get kids on buses, and he would take them to big sports complexes, and he would just have a camp for them: basketball camp, football camp, baseball camps. And then he would also have like young men workshops. And then, in the middle of him doing all this, he was changing the community. He was in touch with different sports teams up there. Middle of doing all that, sadly, he was murdered in 2017.
Oh, man. Sorry to hear that, bro.
So, yeah, man. So we, obviously going through the grieving process. I was just sitting one day, sitting at the house and thinking about him. And I was, I always feel like in a sense of like how you control things in terms of grieving, you can either take the route of just staying sad, or you can use that sadness and fuel it for something greater. And my brother's favorite quote was "Be great." He's like, "Hey, little nigga, go be great today. I don't want nobody saying that you wasn't." So I just thought about that over and over and over again, and then I took advantage of it. And I started Seneca Athletics in honor of him. You know, it's the same concept, just carrying on his legacy of helping people. We work with kids. We do mentorship for kids. We do a lot of things in the community in a sense of like trying to organize events, like sporting events, to where people can come, they can network, they can be with each other, and it's not like an arm and a leg to go to it. You know, there's a lot of sports camps and like boot camps in the summer where people are just all about the profit. It's all, for me, it's all about people seeing each other and meeting people. And then, you know, cohesively as a group, like I always say, you ever notice how you work out better or you feel more accomplished when you do something as a group, or rather than when you do something by yourself? Like for me, for instance, like I used to be in the Navy, and I hate running now by myself because I can't do it. Like back in the Navy, I could run for miles because you go on these group runs, these pride runs, and it's amazing. Right. You can't stop fucking running. And it's mostly because you don't want a motherfucker to be like, oh, he's trailing behind, leave his ass. You know, the beauty of competition is that it fuels you to be greater than what you are. So man, Seneca Athletics is it's a really huge part of me. I always tell people that are interested in either investing in us or sharing our brand with other people, I always tell them, you know, this didn't start from me searching for clout. It didn't start from me searching for attention. I'm not saying a lot of other brands do that, but I only say it because this is a really big part of me, and I'm very passionate about it. This came from a stage of grieving and sadness, and, you know, we're taking it to another level because we don't want anybody else to feel like that. So yeah, that's it.
Man, that's dope, man. Salute to you, my brother. Salute to you. That's awesome. That's amazing. I love seeing people give back to the community, put ourselves on, put other people on, and that's dope, man. Continue the great work, and rest in paradise to Big Bro, man. For real. That's
appreciate it, man.
It's a sad story. I'm glad that you are honoring his memory the best way you can, man. That's honestly that's the only way you can do, man. It's just honor. You know, when you lose somebody in your life that's important to you, honor their memory by doing what they always had a vision for you to do. You know, like you said, Be great. You know what I mean? So that's the best way that you can honor that individual, is by doing what their vision of you was, which is to be great or be a great person or give back or help or whatever it is that vision was, honoring them in that way. So yeah, it's amazing, man. That's a great story. I love that, man. I really, really, really love that, man. So yeah, much success to you, and we'll do everything on our end of things to, you know, make sure that brand gets out there and that everybody can support it and do what they need to do. So
100, much appreciation, man.
No doubt, man. Just, you know, we gotta have our own backs. You know what I mean? Because, you know, we gotta have us. You know what I mean? Because ain't nobody else gonna put us on, so we gotta put each other on.
Exactly, we all we got.
Exactly, facts. So let's move on a little bit. I would love to dig in more into it. Obviously, with the abbreviated show, we don't have time, but we will again. We'll definitely get into it again some other time. Coronavirus, man. You know, it's. Not to discuss the elephant in the room, the coronavirus, its effect on the world, man. I know we were talking offline, you know, how it's just kind of affected both of us. I mean, you and I, we both have kids, you know, wife, jobs, etc. I mean, it's just had a huge, massive effect on the world at large. And look, we're not going to sit here and debate, you know, is this a big deal? I mean, I've gotten into it with folks on Twitter. I've gotten into folks at work, like, you know, is this not a big deal? It's a conspiracy. We're not going to do that here. Look, I'm not a fucking medical professional. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a scientist. I don't know enough about viruses to discuss with you. You know, it's this and it's not that. I mean, it's annoying, man, because I've literally been going through this all week. Like, oh, well, more people die of the flu than they do. You know, I'm like, it's not the flu though. Like, it's not the flu. Like, literally, it is not the flu. It is a totally different virus than the flu. While it has similar symptoms, it's not the flu. It's like saying, you know, That's like an MS breakout, and people say, "Well, more people die from diabetes." No, well, diabetes is diabetes, and MS is MS. Like it's not the same thing. Like,
yeah,
I'm sorry.
Agree.
Like, yeah.
I had to change my approach with that with a lot of people, especially at work, like, and especially with clients that I have, because I was trying to tell them, like, here are the facts. Here are the facts about disease that have similar symptoms, and I had to think about my approach and just try to change it to say that, like, there are some optimistic viewpoints to have from it. You know, like, especially with the whole like my stance on it is I feel like it's not being communicated enough, especially through the media, that, you know, the recovery rate for this thing is crazy. It is a positive outlook. However, for some folks, you know, that fall in that range of, you know, being older, people who are old and have respiratory issues, that's kind of sad, you know. And when I hear people say, like, oh, you know, more people die from the flu, I kind of get where they're coming from. It's just how it's delivered. That's just, you can't do it like that.
Because it comes off as insensitive and not really taking serious to the issues at hand. And I feel like it's because it's just older folks that are dying, so it's not taken as seriously. But like somebody, I forgot who said this. I don't know if it was on Twitter or on TV, but I'm like, I like the older folks that I have in my life. So it's you know, like I have aunts and uncles who, you know, are in their 60s, and it's like, I don't. I kind of like them. I don't want them to get sick. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so I think anybody, like, if there's one death from this thing, I feel like we should take it seriously. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. Even like I was reading, like last night while I was at work, there was like the first case of, no, I'm sorry. They recorded the youngest case of a coronavirus was, like, I think it was like a newborn in London. And like shit, like
oh, wow,
obviously
I didn't see that,
nothing happened to them yet. I don't think that was the last time I read the story. Hopefully not. But like, that's heartbreaking, you know. Like, and if somebody, you know, in that sense, was to hear that and they would respond with, "Well, you know, the flu kills more babies," and like, okay, motherfucker, like, nobody gives a shit. Like, we're talking about this right now. We're talking about coronavirus, and you know, I think that a lot of people they're not communicating that comparison the right way, and they're being.
Well, it's the media, man. I mean, look, and like I've always said, you know, look, it's 2020. If you want to do some research, don't rely on the media. You know, do your own research. Go on Google, watch, you know, go on YouTube, watch some of these documentaries, watch some of these things. I mean, if you go on Google and type in coronavirus, you can find out a lot of shit that you never even knew about the coronavirus. That's what I've been doing. I've been trying to educate myself. Like, don't just rely on the media. Like, the media has their own agenda. They're about propaganda and they're about clicks and selling the news, essentially. Selling advertising. So, like, why rely on the media? Like, the media is going to do what they're going to do, but you know what? This is not 1980 anymore. We have an internet. You know, we have computers everywhere. Like, you have Google, everywhere. You have smartphones. You have information at your fingertips. If you want to know, okay, what's the impacts of the coronavirus? Look it up. You know what I'm saying? It's not that difficult. Look it up. Like, it just boggles my mind when people complain, like, oh, well, the media is making this out to be. Then just don't rely on the media. If you only listen to CNN and NBC or whatever, like, then you would think this is the apocalypse and the world's worst thing. You know what I mean? And so don't rely on the media. Educate yourself. I'm sorry. I just have no tolerance for people like that, man.
Yeah, man. And I have to tell, like, some older folks that I know, I was like, you need to stop watching the news. Like, just stop watching the news. I know you up there, but you got an iPhone. You could pull this shit up. You don't have to go to them. Go directly to, you know, the CDC site, the World Health Organization site. You can get all the information you need. I had to let somebody fire off on somebody the other day. I was like, "Are you a doctor? Do you have a doctor's degree?" You shut the fuck up.
Yeah. Well, the swine flu was worse, and SARS was that. Like, okay, that's great, that's wonderful. All of these viruses. There's several. There's like 1 million viruses out there in the world that could each of them kill us at any given time or another. Like, it doesn't. So to try to compare one to the other and then try to, like, well, this one does this, and like, I'm not in that. I'm not a fucking medical professional. I don't. You know, I don't. I'm not an expert. I mean. And the whole thing of, like, oh, well, they're taking it out of proportion, closing schools. I'm like, look, I'd rather be safe than to be sorry. I'd rather be in a situation where we look back on this and be like, yo, that was wild shit. Remember when they closed down all the schools and canceled everything?
Yeah.
Like, I'd rather look back at that, kind of like, we dodged a bullet, than, some shit hits the fan and then we looking back like, why didn't we do enough? Why didn't our government do it? I mean, the government isn't doing enough as it is. I mean, that's a whole another discussion for a whole other podcast. But you know what I mean? Like, we could critique this shit to the day is, gone and back. But at the end of the day, look, I'd rather be safe than sorry. And look, and a lot of this is also, I'm a parent now. Like, so maybe I don't have that same cynical view of the world when I wasn't a parent. Like, I have kids now. Like, I'm older, I'm more mature. Like, yeah, I like the older people in my life. Like, I don't like them. I don't want them to get sick. So like, yeah, I'm a little concerned about it. So yeah. And not to mention, like, I just had pneumonia 2 years ago. Like, and I know pneumonia is not the same. It's not in the same, scope as this. But like, when you sick like that changes your whole outlook about being sick. Like,
pneumonia is dangerous.
Dog, like, yeah, like that's what I'm like. I was telling my wife, I was like, I don't wish that shit on anybody. Like, pneumonia is horrible. And I lucky for me, I had, walking pneumonia and my shit was, but I had fluid in my lungs. I was sick. I had, I had lethargy. I mean, I lost weight. Like, I had lost my appetite. Like, pneumonia is nothing to play with. And, I after getting sick like that, and I had pneumonia for a good, I was dealing with it on and off for a good 6-7 weeks. You know what I mean? So it wasn't like, you take a couple medicine and you take some. Now I fucked up and stopped taking my antibiotics, so that's part of the problem too. But like I was dealing with it for a good almost 2 months, and that changes your whole perspective on it. Like, that could be me again. Like, I could get sick again. Like, so of course, like I feel like the more concerned and the more proactive we are instead of reactionary, the better. So if it takes us being without sports for a few weeks, and if it takes us, working from home, then yeah, so be it. And I know it's going to have a horrible impact on the economy. I know that it's going to have we're already seeing it now. I mean, we talked offline about your job and, possibly layoffs and stuff like that. I mean, of course it's heartbreaking to hear that stuff. I really do. But, I'd rather it be for this reason than, some other BS reason. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, there's always a positive note to this, because like you said, I'd rather be out here being super precautious, telling people, no, I'm not coming out the house. No, I'm only going out to, for the necessities, to go to work and just get the vital essentials. Later on we could joke about it, be like, oh, you remember Devin asking to come out the house? Yeah, yeah, you're right. Yeah, we absolutely didn't know, but I'd rather be live, Amy. Yeah, exactly. And the part about all of this that people are missing is that they're not getting enough information about the situation, so they're being naive about how they carry themselves every day. So, So here in Chicago, this past week or this weekend, Saturday and Friday, because March 17th is during the week, the city celebrated St. Patrick's Day. They're celebrating it right now, and I was like mesmerized, like going to work yesterday, and I was like seeing all these people just out and about in the bars, at these like day functions celebrating St. Patrick. I was like, y'all are like, y'all want natural selection to just take its course. You cannot be this naive. And then, like, I was talking to one of my homies at work, and he was like, look at the demographic of most of them people. You think they have kids? And I was like, yeah, what's that got to do with anything? But it goes back to what you were saying, Manny. It's like, when you have children, you look at a lot of things differently. You look at like how you carry yourself compared to how you carried yourself as like when you were just a single man. Yeah. Now you have a wife, you have children. You have to think about their safety before you think about your own safety. You have to think about their health and their well-being before your own. So you can't go out. You can't, just be mingling in a group of people at an overcrowded place thinking like, oh no, I'll be good. Like, motherfucker, there's not a pandemic going on outside.
I mean, it's like, look at what's going on in Europe. Look at Italy. Italy's not a third world country. I just got back from there. It's not a third world country. Like, Italy is like, they basically shut the entire country down because they just don't, the cases have been so severe and so the amount of them has just been crazy that they're having to choose between treating folks, like I was reading this on the news. It's like, they're basically, hospitals in Italy are basically having to decide, like, if you're over the age of 80 and they basically can't save you, then they're just not treating you because it's just like they're getting people that are young now affected with it, that they basically have to make a decision. I mean, it's like, yo, it's crazy. Like, this is not a game. Okay. Yeah. And it's just typical American kind of like invincibility. Like, oh, I'm 30 and I'm healthy and I'm not going to get it. Like, it don't matter. Like, you and I both know you can eat right. You can sleep right. You can drink, you can drink all the vitamins and proteins and everything, and you still get sick. It doesn't matter. Like, look, diseases, viruses, they're indiscriminate. They don't care about your race. They don't care about your skin color. They don't care about, your ethnicity. They don't care if you're fat, you're big, you're small, if you got abs, if you got a fucking, like, they don't care. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? It does not matter. It's just frustrating, man, because it's
like you said, it's an American thing. I think I learned that specifically, like, joining, like, the Navy and just traveling abroad. And I was just, like, seeing, like, how much, like, we as a country just look at shit like, oh, no, we'll be good.
we just take things for granted. We take simple things for granted. You know what I mean? Like, we take, just like the bare, like, we just take, like, simple life things for granted. You know what I mean? And I say the same thing with myself, like, just deploying and being in the Army. Like, same thing. Like, you just don't appreciate things in life, like, as Americans, because we are so spoiled. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's just, it's crazy, man. It's just frustrating because it's like, am I the only rational thinking person? Like, am I the only, like, I can't be the only rational person, you know what I mean? And look, I'm just as cynical as anybody else. I have my cynical ways sometimes about things. And, I'll admit at first I was a little cynical about it. Like, it's not a big deal. But I mean, of course you start researching and you start reading the news, you start watching the news and you start doing your own research. Like, yeah, this is not a game. Like, people are dying, man. Like, this is not a joke. I mean, you got $1 billion entities like the NBA, the NFL, I mean, all these sports leagues that are basically saying, we're going to hit the pause button. We're just not doing, like, you think Adam Silver wanted to cancel the NBA season? Like, or to suspend the NBA season? No, that's billions of dollars of revenue that he's losing right now.
Listen,
like,
they're
not doing this for shits and giggles.
Exactly. And I was saying this to somebody the other day. I was like, if you're not taking this shit serious, you need to look at the way money moves. Look at the way money moves for something like the NCAA tournament. That tournament lasts for what, a month? Maybe shorter than that?
3 weeks. 3 weeks.
3 weeks. And it generates like
billions
of dollars. Billions of dollars. Do you know how hard it is for these greedy motherfucking American business owners, investors, and the greedy entity that is the NCAA to be like, you know what? Cancel the whole fucking thing. Not postpone it. Cancel it.
Yeah.
That is how serious this is. If you don't think it's serious, then you just don't want to believe it. It's a choice. You're not looking at the facts of it. And like you said, you think Adam Silver had a lot of gall to stand on and be like, hey, my message to all of you owners, this is what I'm about to do. It takes courage to speak up to these owners. Not just courage. You have to have backing and backing behind that backing to be like, yo, this is what I'm doing, whether you like it or not. Because as we've seen in the past, these owners, especially NFL owners, they could care less. If it affects their bottom line, they don't care. And
absolutely,
people, how naive people could be about it is fascinating to me. It's not shocking. I won't say that, but it is fascinating.
I know I shouldn't be shocked, but even for me, it's still shocking. Like, really, do we still have, like, they still make you? Like, they just really make people like you still? Like, it's crazy, bro, because it's like, it feels like you're on an island by yourself, like, of rational thinking. Like, and look, we're not saying basically go home and just eat canned foods and basically sit in a bunker. Like, we're not saying that. I went out yesterday. My wife has gone out. We're not saying that. Just be precautionary. You know what I mean? Stay away from large crowds. Stay away from, do the common sense. Wash your hands. Make sure that you're eating right. You're drinking right. You know what I mean? I knew people that were going. Yeah. What? And it's like, it's crazy that we basically have to tell people and emphasize, wash your hands. But it's like, common sense is not so common. Like, I literally used the bathroom the other day at work. dude come in, do his thing, come out, don't even wash his hands. Like, really? Like a global pandemic is going on, and you don't even do a simple thing as just wash your fucking hands for 5 minutes. Like, it's mind-boggling. It really is mind-boggling. And I know I should be shocked and should be surprised, but I mean, it's just, it's crazy.
It's nuts. And I hope that, obviously I hope that, this passes over soon and we can get back to not just, sports, but our normal lives, doing things that we were used to doing. But I do miss sports. I definitely do miss it, man.
Dog, I'm hurting, bro. I've been seeing these tweets like, day 3 without sports. one cat was like, I found out my favorite color is green. Y'all like that shit? No, yeah, for real, dog. Like, it's just like, and it's like, I'm using it to catch up on old shows and movies that I haven't watched and stuff like that. But dog, I am hurting for real, though, for real, man. But all we're just saying is just, man, be careful, man. Be out there, be precautionary. Don't go out of your way to do stupid shit. Just take it seriously. You know what I mean? Not saying that you basically got to live in fear and hunker down in a fucking bunker somewhere. Like, no, but just common sense. If you have the opportunity, if you're blessed, and I should say that, blessed, because some people are not blessed to have the opportunity to work from home. If you have the opportunity to work from home, take advantage of it. Absolutely. Like, just common sense, man. That's all we're saying. That's all we're preaching, common sense. And we're not a bunch of boomers. We're not a bunch of old motherfuckers just, trying to preach to everybody. We're young folk. We young dudes. Like, we millennials. Like, we're just trying to tell everybody, like, just take this shit seriously. You know what I mean? Don't be so cynical. Like, take it seriously.
It's oh man, it's mind-boggling. Like, just the way you said that, just hearing you say that, like, wash your hands. Like, I could hear myself saying it. It's like I say it in my dad voice. Like, yo, don't forget to wash your hands. Come on, we've been through this. Yeah, like, but we're talking to adults.
Adults, yeah. That's the scary part. Crazy. Yeah, it's just crazy, man. It's crazy. Let's move on, though, man. So what do you think the NBA should well, I specifically asked the NBA because they're the NBA and NHL because they're the teams, they're the leagues most farther along in their season. As we know the NCAA is done for the year, at least the winter and spring sports. What should the NBA do? Should they just resume the season as is when they get back, or should they just kind of, just start from the play? Let's just play this out for a little bit. Let's just say at the end of, because the hiatus is for 30 days. Adam Silver announced that. So that'll put us back, the 15th of April sometime, which would have been the start of the playoffs to begin with, right? So, what do you think the NBA should do? Should they just come back and just resume the season as is, shorten the season, only play like 12 games and then the playoffs, or go right into the playoffs?
I think that, it really depends on, like, around that 28 to 27 day mark. And I think what Adam Silver is going to look at is, like, how far along will this go into our normally scheduled off season? Because I know the NBA was talking about shortening the seasons to begin with, because one of the most exciting seasons was that lockout season, because everybody was in a crunch to try to make sure that they won every game. Games were much more competitive. So they were already talking about it. So it might be a benefit and a curse. It might be a gift or a curse, either way you look at it. But I think around that 27 or 28 day mark of this postponement, personally, I think that Adam Silver would be inclined to shorten it after the postponement is done, even though obviously it'll affect the teams that are on the cusp of making the playoffs. He has to think about how far this will run into the off season, because the off season is important, especially with their CBA and, their mandatory recovery time between the end of a season and the start of the next season. That's a dilemma that he is facing. And, if he was to cancel the season, man, I just don't know how that would go, because I do wonder what the situation is, health wise, with allowing them to just play in these empty stadiums. I don't know because I know probably with each city it's something different that the city ordinances says for, it can only.
You're dealing with state laws and stuff like that. Yeah. Exactly.
So that's probably the limit that he's facing too. But with the NHL, I was saying to somebody this the other day, the NHL has had a long history of having illnesses just sweep through locker rooms in the league. I think it's like a few years ago, they had a case of like hand, foot, and mouth disease, but like they canceled a few games.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And I was just like, I was thinking to myself, it probably has something to do. Obviously, they play in a cold environment, cold, and you combine that with moisture, that's a home for bacteria and viruses to just mingle. So for them, it's probably even more difficult to make that decision. But for Adam Silver, I think his options are on the table. There are some positive outlooks to it, but man, I just can't see him canceling the season.
Yeah, I mean, look, and we're being honest we're being generous with the 30 days. I mean, this may take longer, like you said. Who knows? Yeah. I mean, this is totally uncharted territory. So there's no knowledge base to go off of. There's no situation where, what I'm saying, we have this experience and we've done it in this situation. I mean, this is uncharted territory. So, but let's just play it out for the sake of this discussion and say that it is 30 days. I think the regular season as is done. Like I don't foresee
that happening.
Resuming the season. I mean, even if they come back, April 15th, what's the point? What's the point of coming back and playing? I think they were on like 60 games already or something like that. What's the point of playing 20 other games? Like, it's the NBA. We know who's in the playoffs. We know the teams that are, I mean, it's going to suck for some of those teams that are, like 1 or 2 games back of the 8th seed and 7th seed, especially like in the East and in the West. Like, but look, at this point, it is what it is. You know who's in the playoffs. You know who your playoff teams are. You know who your great teams are. Let's just get on with it. I think the regular season, no matter what happens, I think the regular season, we will not see a regular season basketball game played again. That's for sure.
And I could see that happening. I really could. Because according to their 2020 schedule, it's supposed to be Saturday, April 18th, which is roughly like a few days. If we were going off the schedule, it would be roughly a few days before then. So it would be I could totally see him just saying, what, we're going to start right here. Or if anything, we're only going to play a handful more of these games. We're going to take a 2 or 3 day break, and then the playoffs are going to start. That's it.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I totally see that happening.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think I just don't think it makes any much sense to resume. I mean, I think had this happened in like January, February, I think you'd see the NBA season resume in some combination. But it's being this close to April, I just feel like, and again, being generous on that timetable. If it comes back in 30 days or whatever, I definitely see just going on with the playoffs. I don't see a point of resuming the season. And if this thing does go longer, you also have to factor in the Olympics. I don't think the NBA is going to have in their best interest going to want to extend the season into July, August. And you got a lot of its players playing on USA Basketball. So I mean, I like a lot of things are at play here. So I think let's just say this goes into May and they resume in May. Then you're talking about shortening the playoffs. So maybe making the first round 5 games, maybe making the conference semis 5 games, and then 7 and 7 for the conference finals and finals. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of things on the table. I mean, right now it's even unfair to even have this conversation because we don't know what's going to happen. I mean, we're just playing this out for conversation purposes, but we don't know. It's crazy. It's crazy to think about. But I think you and me are both in agreement. I think whatever happens, we're not going to see the NBA in full as far as the regular season goes.
Yeah, I don't think so. And especially with like the, consideration of, I mean, like it's already 3 players, 2, Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert, and a guy who plays for the Pistons.
Christian Wood. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's 3 people already. Luckily, I think in the NBA handled that really well with that situation at OKC. Where they just said, nobody leaves.
Yeah, they just shut it down. Stadium. Yeah, shut it down. Absolutely.
So the NBA was really, really good. I thought that was really good. Like they did that shit fast and swift. Our politicians could learn a lesson from that.
Listen, let's commend the NBA, man. Commend Adam Silver.
Yeah,
Adam Silver he's had a rough year. I mean, the whole NBA and China situation was not a good look for the league. Obviously the ratings being in decline, everything that's going on with the Kobe death. I mean, we're still dealing with that. And then, then this happens. I mean, but Adam Silver showed his mettle, man. I mean, I was critical of him for the China thing, but I gotta be honest. I gotta be fair. I gotta give him big ups for that. He handled it swiftly. He did what a leader's supposed to do. He didn't mess around. He didn't fuck around. Yeah, waste of time. So I agree with you. Yeah, definitely give him kudos and show some love to Adam Silver because he's had a rough year. Damn, he's had a rough year.
Really rough year.
Facts, man.
And like, even with like, he got grief for how he changed the All-Star game format when he just agreed to let that happen. And it ended up being pretty exciting.
Listen, as somebody who doesn't care about the All-Star game at all, I was excited about it. I loved it. I thought the format was a win. So
yeah, it ended up working out because I know I was saying to myself, I was like, all right, I get it, but there are a lot of people that aren't going to get this. They don't, because people are lazy. They don't want to read. They don't want to, take the time to try to understand shit. They just want it to be right there in front of them, handed to them on a platter. And so it ended up working out. It ended up working out really well. I just hope that, obviously this is optimistic thinking. I hope that everything is better and the NBA can go back. But if it starts off with the playoffs, here's the one thing I think about it. You're giving these guys 30 days and then maybe some odd change if they, extend it again. You're giving them all this time to rest and recover. This will be arguably the most competitive playoffs we have ever seen. Recovery is so important, man. And like, you have all these guys that are on, these teams that are just battered, especially these teams that are trying to, hold their position in the middle of their conference. You're giving these guys extra time to recover, extra time to get ready. Oh, man.
Yeah, it's only going to help. It's only going to help. Absolutely. It's only going to help. Absolutely. And for the other sports too, NHL, same thing. Baseball, let's say the MLB season doesn't get started till, May 1st. And then just throwing that out there, like, yeah, I think it helps the season. I think it helps pitchers and hitters. You're not going to have that grind. And I think Major League Baseball, if it starts on May 1st, anything after April 15th for MLB, I think they could probably squeeze in 162. They can cram it in. If they start anything in May, I think you're going to see a shortened season in baseball as well. So yeah, it's going to be interesting, man. And again, we're being totally optimistic with these dates. I mean, we don't know. I mean, we could be looking deep into summer, depending on how this goes. I mean, we don't know. We just don't know. So, it's crazy to think about. Let's wrap it up with the CBA though, man, because, news just came down today that the, players union and the NFL owners agreed to a new CBA to run for 10 years to 2030. I don't know if you had a chance to kind of look through it or whatever, poke your head in it or whatever, but
yeah, I did. I was trying to understand so I know they were saying the league estimated that as much as an additional $100 million will go to the players immediately.
Yeah, they get a larger cut of the revenue pie. So basically and I'm not going to bore you guys. You guys can go on Bleacher Report and read it. But basically the main gist is 17 game regular season starting. They really haven't put out a date when it's going to start. It's not starting in 2020. So this season's out of the question. They said the earliest is 2021. So, 17 game regular season. So one extra game, one extra playoff team. So that means one less team receives. So instead of getting the first two, the 1 and the 2 seeds getting buys, it's only the 1 seed, which makes getting that top seed overall even more important. So that's kind of the main gist. And then of course you have a bunch of other like policy stuff like revenue sharing and, cutting down the preseason. And, obviously the big highlight of everybody was talking about on Twitter was that now the NFL has removed weed off the banned substance list. So they will no longer test for that, which is a huge bonus, for a lot of players, obviously from a recovery standpoint. Yeah. So what are your thoughts on it? Do you like this change? Are you kind of in the middle? Where you stand on it?
So with the extra game, I just understand they took away a preseason game.
So it took away it. I haven't like skimmed through the entire thing. I know that they have done away with a preseason game. So the preseason, I think now will only be 3 games. So they're adding that what would have been in that that fourth preseason game into the NFL regular season and making it 17 games.
Yeah, because I know every player that I've ever seen on TV, former player I've ever met, they hate the damn preseason.
Yeah. I mean, the preseason's
I always hear them say that it should be dedicated to practice, to training, and they can't stand it. And for some
I think at most should be two. At most, I think there should be two preseason.
I agree. And if anything, they can have these like these scrimmage practices with other teams. If they want to, obviously coaches and general management, they need to be able to look at their team and see, okay, we have to cut this many guys. Who can we keep? That is important. Mm-hmm. However, that shit should be no more than 2 games. It really is senseless. But that marijuana thing is huge, because now I wonder, how many agents are going to go to the commissioner and be like, hey, well, are you going to retroactively take away some of these punishments that you have for these players? I think about a guy like Josh Gordon. Like, yeah, even though I think Josh might have it might be some mental things with him too, because he just could not stop like that. And that shows that he was really affected, like emotionally, by something that was creating an urge for him to go want to just want to go smoke weed. But I wonder what is going to happen with that. Like, I think there should be some type of litigation or some type of form of retroactively looking back and saying like, okay, this suspension has been nullified. You're good to go, because it's definitely not fair. You're doing it now.
Yeah. I mean, that's opening up a whole nother Pandora's box. And that's that, I think what the NFL will do is I think they'll play coy on it. I think they'll be like, well, we can't nullify a suspension in 2012 because weed was banned then. So we can't do that now. But, going forward, blah, blah, blah. So I think they'll find a way around it. But yeah, I agree with you. That's an interesting dilemma there. I don't really like it. I don't like the extra game. To me, less is more. To me, 17 games you're diluting your product as is. I don't like that idea. The extra playoff team, I really don't like that idea. Like, to me, there was nothing wrong with the NFL playoff system to begin with. So why tinker with it and add another team? Now you're adding a 7th team in there that's is probably going to be some 8-8 team that doesn't deserve to be in the playoffs to begin with.
Or 7-9.
Right, yeah. Or even at this rate, even a 6-10 team. Who knows? I mean, shit. The way it is right now, like, you never know. But yeah, I don't like it. To me, it's just a money gouge, and it just shows how weak these player unions are, especially the NFL. I mean, like, the NFL players union is just a complete joke, because this was an unpopular. Well, because this was an unpopular thing. The players, there was a lot of players. I mean, if you look at the vote total, this was not this wasn't an overwhelming vote. It was like 1,000 something players that said yes and 900 or something that voted no. So this was very divisive.
It's insane, man. Like, I cannot get how these guys can't get together cohesively and pick somebody to properly represent them. DeMaurice Smith is an idiot. First off,
he's a moron. Yeah,
he don't know what the fuck he doing. And it doesn't seem like any or much of the players like him. And I don't know if it's like who he has pictures of to where he could just keep that job. But it's ridiculous. And
the owners like him. The owners like him. The owners like working with him. So yeah, that's it basically.
Richard Sherman alluded to this. He thought it was stupid all the way around. And yeah, you're right. It was 1,019 to 959. That's a close ass vote.
I mean, that's basically split.
Yeah. There has to be a large group of players that are highly upset with this.
And notable players. Yeah, notable players. Yeah, absolutely. No, I think it's dumb. I think you can't see. This is the problem I have with the NFL is the hypocrisy. You can't tell me that you're about player safety. You can't tell me it's about concussions and health and recovery, and then you're adding another game into the regular season. Why? Look, I would even be okay. Like, don't add the 17th game and just add another player. I'd be okay with that. I don't like that either, but I'd be fine with adding the extra playoff team. But to add a 17th game to the regular season, and then you're adding an extra team, like, it just, to me, you're just diluting the product. You really are.
It really is.
And then you can't say it's about player safety. You just can't. You cannot hold that narrative anymore.
Bullshit. It really is. And then what you're seeing now is you're seeing they're just going down the road. All these NFL teams releasing veterans that are under contract. So you have tens of millions scheduled salaries that will now turn to bullshit because, they can do it under this new CBA. But, hey, we're supposed to trust the NFL, say that they're about the players, they're about player safety. And this new 11-year CBA is a good deal for the players. And it's bullshit. I mean, you're basically laying these guys off because you got a new an agreed contract. It's a joke.
It's a joke, man. It's a joke. It's typical DeMaurice Smith, typical NFL players.
It's a bigger disaster than what it is. But they used the perfect time. They used the perfect climate to try to get this shit done because this isn't going to be talked about enough that how bad this deal is. And I'm going to read through it some more, but I really do feel like this sucks. It's also, I was reading when I was on my way home that apparently they sack disability as well. So all that shit that like the classic footballers, like the Hall of Fame footballers tried to fight for in a sense of like guys that are suffering, in their post NFL career, like they're basically sacking much of that benefit. And like you said, you cannot say it's about player safety when it's absolute, it's bullshit.
Yeah, I don't like it. I'm not a fan of it. All right, man. Look, we can do a whole nother episode trying to break it down, but yeah, we're going to get up out of here. Yeah, man. Before you go, man, just go ahead and plug your show and everything you got going on and anything coming up on According to Sources. Go ahead and plug it.
Absolutely, man. You should follow us at A2S at According to Sources. We are always welcoming everybody. If you want to block us, you will have to get in line because we're blocked by many people, including Jason Whitlock. You could go ahead and follow us. It's at A2 Sources on Twitter. We're also on Facebook and Instagram. Be a part of history. Jump on us in like the wee hours and try to bash us for something that we said, a la Jason Whitlock. Also, we are probably on the ban list soon when the season starts back again from the Reinsdorf family because the Bulls are a joke. But follow us. You could also follow Seneca Athletics on IG, Facebook, and Twitter. Follow us, man. Reach out to us. If you have any questions about your just general fitness, losing weight, gaining muscle, being a better athlete than what you are, if you just want to talk to somebody about locating and enhancing your internal greatness, holla at us. We're always open. If you're trying to collab once the coronavirus goes away for good, we're all about it. Yeah, man, we are here and we hope that everybody is trying to locate the greatness that's already within you and enhance it and move forward.
All righty, guys. Thank you for listening. Thanks to Dev for being my guest this week on the podcast. We are going to get up out of here. As always, you can follow the show on Twitter at AGS Pod, on Instagram, AGS Podcast, Facebook, Any Given Sunday. And follow me on Twitter at The Manuel Brown, Facebook, Manuel Brown, Instagram, The Manuel Brown, Snapchat, Manuel Brown 15. You guys know the deal. Please, please, please be safe, everybody. Don't be an idiot. Wash your hands.
Yes.
Take the precautions you've seen on the news and everything in general, and just please just be smart. Just take care of yourselves, take care of your families. Don't go to work if you don't have to, or work from home if you're blessed to do so. Just be smart. So that's all we can say. Hopefully everybody takes care of themselves. We'll see you back next week with another episode of the podcast. For Devin, I'm Manuel Brown. We are out of here. Peace.